Alright, so I'm back. It's like I was never here pretty much now because it's been like a year and a half. Um, I haven't seen anything in a year and a half. I haven't seen anything since we had, a Rock Cena 1. And that's how long it's been. Um, just, getting the internet, being able to afford a couple of the finer things in life again. I didn't have cable or internet for a while. So at least now I can at least YouTube the shows. And that's what I've been doing for about 3 weeks now. I've had the internet for about 3 weeks. And I'm not going to review the shows. I'm just going to talk about a couple of things, that happened on these shows, whether it be for the better or the worse. So I guess we're just going to call this a shit and poo review. Fuck it, why not? We'll just call it that. Lost track of the number I was on, so we'll just say this is number 1 of the new series. Alright, so I'm not sure of dates, I watched, like I said, I've been watching for like 3 weeks on YouTube. I've just been, pulling up, a couple of shows and a couple of reviews just to get an idea of things, of, where things were at. The first thing I want to talk about, I guess, is kind of outdated now, but I mean, I feel, it should be mentioned. Now, there's a lot of things that I want to say, alright, and I don't want to sound like a hypocrite or biased or anything like that, so people, please do not take it that way. These are just, my personal, feelings, opinions about the product. And the first thing I want to talk about is this 434-day title run that CM Punk has as WWE Champion. Now, I know this is going way far back now, but I want you people to think back to when, and I know Punk, title run is over now. It's been done for a while, but this is relevant to me because I haven't talked about it, so just bear with me here. Why the hell they just bury him? He was basically nothing more than just a 434-day transitional paper champion. I mean, I'm not trying to sound, biased or harsh or anything. But really, just think about it. The WWE, they already knew from the get-go what they were going to do before they had Rock Cena 1. I'm pretty sure they had all this already laid out to have, Cena lose to The Rock and then have at the next pay-per-view, or WrestleMania pay-per-view, I should say, have The Rock lose to John Cena, putting John Cena over, which does nothing for Cena. It's not going to make anybody like him anymore, and it doesn't do anything for The Rock. And this whole entire transitional period of them having Cena lose to The Rock and then having him go up against The Rock at next year's WrestleMania was the only reason that Punk even had the belt to begin with. They could have given it to The Rock. He's a full-time actor. Really. And they did the whole quote-unquote, rebuild with Cena. We're going to tear him down. He lost to The Rock, blah, 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 blah. The next pay-per-view he beats Brock Lesnar. Give me a fucking break. We're going to rebuild Cena my ass. But I digress. My point is they were going to do this quote-unquote rebuild and then have him go again and face The Rock at WrestleMania the next year. And they knew that match was going to be for the title. So The Rock wasn't going to be there full time, so they couldn't have him hold the belt all that time. They needed to give it to somebody. CM Punk cut the promo, and there you go. Granted, they fucked up after Money in the Bank, but still, inevitably they built a star. But they built a star just for the sake of having CM Punk hold the belt for 434 days, being basically nothing but a glorified paperweight, paper transitional champion, by having him lose the belt to that flaming douchebag of a Rock, just to have that fucking douchebag drop it back to the fucking other douchebag at WrestleMania and John Cena, which got us right back where we fucking started. So they made a star for nothing and buried him. Then he got buried by The Undertaker, which granted it's The Undertaker, but still he got buried. Okay, and he hasn't seen the title since, from what I've read. So why did he even bother signing a contract? This whole thing was stupid. He just got used as a belt holder. Like, there was no other significance. It was almost like if they had a way to give Cena or Orton or somebody the belt, they would have did it. But there was no arrangement for there to be a way for that to happen because of what they were doing. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't going to go to The Rock. So, I mean, option C. I mean, I'm not saying, CM Punk should have been champion forever, but I mean, come on. Drop the belt to someone that actually used the push. If it would have been anybody other than The Rock or John Cena or Orton, I would have been fine with it. I wouldn't have cared who would have won, or Triple H. Anyone else could have won, as long as it was built right and it would have been good. You give a guy a run with the championship, you get him over, you give him a run, you give him the title, and see how it goes. That's how it works. You don't just keep going back to the same old thing until it's so old that nobody gives a fuck anymore. I mean, nobody likes John Cena any more than they ever have. People hate him even more, and that was apparent when he announced, that he was going out. And this is something else that I want to talk about, because I'm going to digress from that whole situation that I was just speaking about, because that's enough about that. But as much as, I dislike his character and all that junk, alright, I still respect him as a person, and I don't wish bad things upon anybody. So when the man has a legitimate injury that you can actually see, I mean, it looked fucking nasty, and people are just fucking cheering like it's the best thing in the world. I mean, what is wrong with you people? I mean, seriously. I mean, really, how the hell would you like it if you fucking broke an arm or tore something and it hurt like fuck, and you were just an artist at your craft? I mean, granted, he's not the greatest technician, but he's not the shittiest wrestler in the world either. But whatever you did, and then you got hurt, and people were just fucking cheering the fact that you got hurt. How would you feel? Think about it. You people are pathetic. Okay, the man goes out there. Okay, he does a lot. Okay, he's always there. He's been there, and I give him that. Okay, I give him his credit where it's due. He's paid his dues, people. It's enough. Okay, let's get down to reality real quick. John Cena is never going to be heel. It's never going to happen. He had his heel run already, back with the whole Doctor of Thugonomics thing before he got over and he turned to Superman. Okay, it's never going to happen again, because look at it like this, all right? And even as much as, I want it to happen, it won't, for the simple fact of, it's not just the John Cena character that you see on TV. It's the John Cena character that he does off of TV, like the whole, all the foundation stuff, the Make-A-Wish and all that stuff that he does, like, he really is, the company guy, and, love him or hate him, you gotta respect him for everything that he does. If they turned him heel, who's gonna fulfill that role? And that's the problem. It's all these other things that he does. He's working all the time. He's always somewhere doing something. So you have to respect the guy in and out of the ring. You really do. And they don't have anyone that's going to do that. That's going to fulfill that role. He will always be that guy till he leaves. He'll always be that face. Whether or not he'll always be, the top guy consistently all the time, let's hope that is not the case till he retires. But he'll always be that face of the company. The guy that most people recognize the company for. He'll always be that guy. And that's not going to change until the day he retires. Now, granted, I understand, because I'm in the same boat here with a lot of people, turning him heel. He's already generating a lot of heat. He'll generate even more heat. And it'll make it easy for them to get new stars over, especially with the way they've been booking things as of late, because things, from what I've seen, have gotten better. But, of course, it's not going to happen. He's there for the kids. He's there for all that other foundation stuff he does. This is never going to happen. But for God's sakes, people, the man still deserves respect. And back to the point of this whole thing, okay, he does all this stuff, and yet he still gets booed out of every building because no one can show any respect for the man. Even when he's injured, no one can even show any respect. I mean, it's one thing, when he's in his kayfabe, character, but it's a whole other thing when he's telling you, hey, look, I'm hurt. You can see this shit, I'm hurt. I need to leave. And people just, that's... No, that's fucked up, people. Come on. Grow up. Now, once again, I digress. We're going to talk about something different now. I want to talk about this whole entire evil corporation thing. This is brilliant. looking at it just from my perspective, the way they've set this up is inevitably you have to have Daniel Bryan win. Now, from what I have heard and a couple things I have seen, I know that Daniel Bryan beat John Cena for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam. And then I guess Randy Orton cashed in or whatever happened. And then you have Randy Orton being the champion in this stable of heels. You have Vince McMahon being heel, with Stephanie McMahon being heel, Randy Orton and Triple H all heel. Now this whole entire thing, with Randy Orton being with this stable, with all the heat that he has with the McMahons, in previous storylines, there's kind of some, this is kind of weird type of thing, but, they quote unquote put their differences aside and whatnot. But overall, I think this is a really good idea, especially if it inevitably puts over Daniel Bryan. Right now, arguably, Daniel Bryan is, the top guy. He is, the face of the company right now, arguably. And I'm not saying he should win a Night of Champions. I mean, I think they should kind of play this out and have him win the belt later on down the line. I mean, I'm looking at it now. What is it? It's September now. They could play this out, and maybe he can win the Rumble or something like that. Maybe go to Mania and win the belt. As much as I don't like Orton, let him have the belt for a while. Drag this thing out for like 6 months. As long as inevitably he goes over and they don't just move on to something else, it's okay. Drag this out so it just gets more in depth and it gets more people into it more than they already are, and then, it'll get Bryan more over than he already is, and it could really be something amazing. As long as they drag it out a little bit and eventually give him the belt. Now, if they never give him the belt, then it was a waste of time. But if they give him the belt right now, then this whole entire corporation group of heels would be for nothing, because from what it seems, they're using this stable to put over Daniel Bryan. And you don't want to pull a Super Cena move. You actually want to build this properly. And if to build it properly, you have to give it time to grow. Let the storyline, tell itself, let it play out, and then inevitably have the end happen where Bryan finally goes over and overcomes the impossible odds. I mean, that's what wrestling is really about. You have a heel, you have a face. The heel generates heat, gets the face over. At the end of the day, everybody's happy. And the face goes over eventually. Whatever happens to him, yada, yada, yada. And for the longest time, Vince has kind of veered away from this basic strategy that's worked for so many years. So it's nice to see them, getting back to the basics that actually work, that actually make for a good show. Now, I like the fact, like, it's something else I want to talk about here, digressing from the last thing. I like the fact they're bringing in a lot of indie talent, like the Shield and whatnot. Those are some pretty well-known indie wrestlers. So, I think that WWE's finally starting to, get aboard the correct ship again in terms of where, it's not about, how big you are. It's about, how good you are on the mic and how good you can wrestle. And I think WWE's finally starting to veer back towards that, because things, like I said, on the product, from what I've seen, have gotten better from where they were a year and a half ago. It's definitely a huge improvement. I don't think, Reigns or Rollins will ever be WWE champion. I don't think in those two, but definitely Dean Ambrose. I think the other two would be great tag team champions, great mid-card title holders, but WWE champion, I just don't think so. Neither of them really have the charisma or anything like that, or the look to really pull it off. But if it happened, I would mark out, but I just don't think it is. But definitely guys like Dean Ambrose, he definitely has it. So I'm really interested in seeing where this whole Shield thing goes, especially with Dean Ambrose. So yeah, we're gonna see what happens with that. I'm really excited. Now, digressing from the last thing I just spoke about, I'm going to talk about 3MB, because this is another faction, which WWE's just gotten too faction heavy. But why? Really, 3MB, three-man band. Come on, really? If you sunk Drew McIntyre down to this and trying to put over Heath Slater, give me a fucking break, WWE. Really? Do I even need to say anything else? Do I need to talk about Heath Slater and the garbage that he is? Give me a freaking break. Digressing from that, because I am done with that. That's enough, because fuck that. Alright. The Divas division. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's gotten better. Like, AJ Lee, I mean, I called it when she came in. I knew she was going to be big. I called it then. Even when she was in FCW, I called her as being a good diva. If they brought her up, it could be good. She's a good wrestler. She's good on the mic. Some of the things that she said in the last couple of weeks, I'm blown away because I haven't heard stuff like this from the divas in a long time. And WWE is actually focusing with the divas. They're having multiple matches and stuff and storylines, and it's gotten better, especially from what it was a year and a half ago and prior. It's phenomenal. I never thought, WWE would actually get back to this point with the women, but I was wrong. I said for the longest time that the Divas division would not improve, and they just don't give a shit. There's no way in hell it's going to happen. It's not the focus of the company. They have no focus in it whatsoever. They have less focus in it than the tag titles, and now that it's changed, there's a lot of focus on the division, and that's good. And they need to keep that ball rolling uphill and don't let it go back down. Things I'm seeing in the product are continuing to please me now. The tag team division has been elevated. I've only been watching the show for a couple of weeks, but I have seen numerous different tag teams in multiple segments of the show wrestle. And these aren't just, guys that are just thrown together at the last minute for a match because these guys hate each other, these guys hate each other, and we don't get along too well, but we'll make it work. And these two don't get along too well, we'll make it work, or we're going to have a match. These were solid tag teams, and that's good. That's an improvement, putting some emphasis on that division, because all the wrestlers on the show should mean something. They should all be booked to mean something. The titles should mean something. There's no reason to have, these fly-by-night storylines or these random matches that make no sense, that aren't booked at pay-per-views and all that kind of stuff. That's all stupid. They're, from what I'm looking at, are veering away from that, and that's good. They're doing it with every division too, which is phenomenal. It's not just like they've improved the heavyweight division, they've also improved like the tag team titles division, they've improved the divas division. So it's a change for the whole company, which is turning it in a good direction. I really can't complain about that much anymore within the company. From what I've seen and what I've read, granted I haven't gotten to see all the shows, I'm not going to be able to. From what I have seen, it looked quite enjoyable. So, yeah, I really can't complain too much. They even finally made Dolph Ziggler champion after he had that one-day World Heavyweight Champion title run that he had. I don't know how well that went for him when he actually won the World Heavyweight Championship. I heard he had a concussion or something like that. But at least they tried. I don't know how credible he was as a champion or how they built up to it. I'm really not sure. I know he was the Money in the Bank winner. I know he beat Cena in a ladder match for the Money in the Bank or something like that Vicky had booked when he already had won the Money in the Bank, or some stupid shit. Didn't really make much sense, but I know that happened. So he beat Cena. Granted, it was because of AJ, because AJ had that whole involvement, which further helped boost AJ, which I think all that involvement they were doing with AJ earlier just kind of got people behind her, whether they loved her or hated her. You had a reaction. WWE's been building for things, I guess, and I think now they're at a good point. They're taking risks, and people like Dolph Ziggler and Daniel Bryan and these guys. Recently Cody Rhodes just got fired on live TV. It would be nice to see him come back as this guy bent on redemption, but maybe as a face, and they could bring him back and try to give him a face run, because his heel run hasn't really taken him anywhere. He can go against the grain and fight against the corporation or whatever have you, and it could really make for something big. Who knows? They really could go far with this. Obviously, he's not really fired. It's kayfabe. It has to be. So I'm intrigued to see where this is going to go. But now that, WWE has changed their direction and the things that they're doing and the way they're portraying it on TV within the stories and things, I think that in the future there's going to be a lot of talent rising. It doesn't seem like they're heading okay, we're completely focused on John Cena direction. They're actually focusing on other things and other divisions. It's not all about John Cena right now, which is good. Granted he's injured, but I'm pretty sure even when he comes back, it won't just completely revolve around Cena. You know, there's just so much going on now that I have to give WWE a lot of credit. Like I said before, the product has gotten a ton better. And I guess that's about it. This video is probably long enough as it is, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits here. That's about all I really know about anyway. Leave comments, video responses on things I spoke about. If there's things that I missed that were good, or something that was really bad, leave a comment about it down below. If you agree or disagree with things I was saying, talk about it down below. Make a video response, whatever. I don't block anything, so just, if you leave a video response or a comment, it should just pop right up. I don't have YouTube ask me to, verify something before it goes up. Just please be respectful. And that's all I ask. So, everybody, take it easy. Talk to you later. Peace.